Our next caller, we're going to go to Murray, where David has a question about federal spending. David, you're on the line with Senator Lee.
Hi, David.
Yes, I got two questions actually. First one is, how come we keep spending money we don't have? And then the second question is, I hear nobody talking about paying off the deficit. It's always rather than just balance the budget.
Okay, great questions, both of them. First of all, we have to remember that getting to a place where we have a balanced budget and where we could start paying down our accumulated debt of nearly $19 trillion requires more than just cutting big government. That's necessary too, of course. We've got to find waste and cut it out wherever we find it. But it also involves fixing broken government. We're not going to cut our way out of this and have that be sufficient. In other words, we have to do things that will enable our economy to grow to the point where it will be that much easier to balance our budgets and start paying down the principal on our accumulated nearly $19 trillion debt. One of the ways that we can go about doing that is that we've got to stop governing by cliff and crisis. And what I mean by that is that most of our spending bills these days are passed against a deadline. For example, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow rather, our current spending bill will expire. Now, we've known this for months, and yet we still don't have a bill on the floor of the House of Representatives or on the floor of the Senate. So at some point between now and roughly 48 hours from now, we're going to have to pass something. And yet we still don't have a bill on the floor. It's a matter of great frustration for most of us who serve here that the contents of the bill that we will be considering are known to only a few people, perhaps 3 or 4 legislative leaders who have yet to share it with the other members. We've got to cut this out. We've got to stop governing by cliff. We've got to stop putting Congress in a position in which it has a simple binary choice of either continue current spending patterns or alternatively not funding the government and leaving it without funding for a time. Those are both horrible choices. We need to start putting spending legislation on the floor of the House and the floor of the Senate, not just hours, but days or ideally weeks or months in advance of the deadline in question. Look, the bottom line is that the American people have been asked simply to settle, to expect that this is the new normal, to accept that Congress will perpetually govern by cliff, and as it does so, that it will continue to rack up debt and never bother to balance its budget, let alone move on to paying down the accumulated principal of $19 trillion in debt. We can do more if the American people start to expect more, start to demand more. They do deserve more, and the Constitution requires it. With your help, we can get there. But we've got to put more attention on the need to pay down the debt and the need to start developing different processes so that we stop spending in the same way that we have been for years.